Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We're live, episode number 7 now of the No Punches Pulled Real Boxing Talk podcast. Delighted to be joined by the man representing up top, Liam Tully, and the man representing his own company down the bottom, Mr. J's Fight Talk. How are we, boys?
I'm good. Glad to be here. You know the score. We don't hold back. No punches pulled.
We've got a huge show lined up next week. Obviously, we've got Better Be versus Bivol, but this week we've got a few fights to look forward to. We'll cover a bit of the boxing that happened last weekend as well. Probably start there first while we wait for the crowd to build up as always. We have quite a few cards, quite a few talking points as well, which we'll get through. But thank you, as always, to everybody who joins us week in, week out for this show that we absolutely love making. The show's about everybody interacting. We want the comments to go mad. You know, I'll bring up every single one of them as and when I can, unless there's a million coming through like there is sometimes. So I apologize there. But we want the show to be interactive. That's what the show's been made for. So, yeah, thanks to everybody as always. And we'll get stuck right back into it. I think we'll start... We'll go in the chronological order, shall we? So we'll cover the Friday shows first, and then we'll cover what happened on Saturday. So we'll start with GBM, shall we? The Sheffield show on Friday. It was headlined by Shaquille Thompson and River Wilson Bent. Really good performance, Liam. I know you covered that on your show quite extensively with Jams last week. Yeah, great performance by Shaquille Thompson. Just kind of overall, Wilson Bent, didn't it?
It's the performance I hoped I'd see. We said that he'd been in with sort of cannon fodder for his first 11, 12 fights going into this one. This was his first live dog with a pulse that could test him. And I said to Jams last week, I hope Wilson Bent doesn't test him, because he's going to put on a performance of that level that shows he's above the level of kind of fringe British contenders, which is what I believe Wilson Bent is. Being as respectful as I can to him, and he came through and he blitzed him. If we're being honest, Michael Alexander could have stopped that fight after the second knockdown. We didn't need to see another 2 or 3 minutes of it.
Yeah, he was so badly hurt.
What I liked is Shaq didn't take his foot off the gas. He kept his pressure on, and he didn't even give him a chance to recover. He's like, no, you're on the hook here. You're not getting off. I'm finishing this fight. And that's how you make a statement. That's how you get British title shots. That's how you get people talking about you. It's all about creating viral moments. And Shaquille Thompson maximised his viral moment on Friday night for me.
The only, I agree, couldn't agree more. The only downside for me is that 2 seconds after he got the victory, his promotional company tweeted out and tagged Shakur Stevenson into the. Now, I don't know whether that is clever marketing. Myself and Liam are both marketing professionals, or whether somebody just didn't check. But let's just say I highlighted it, and within 5 minutes they corrected themselves. But
it's an oversight. We'll call that an oversight.
We'll call that an oversight, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. To be fair, I mean, I know they were marketing it as a test and a sort of a 50-50 fight. It wasn't a 50-50 fight for me, and it did. I probably didn't expect him to do it as decisively as he did. You know, I expected him to come through, and I had him picked as the favourite to win the fight. But he did it in sort of devastating fashion. As you say, Liam, could have been stopped.
The demolition job.
Earlier. At one point, he was falling all over his opponent. You know, River Wilson was falling.
Wasn't a good look for River Wilson, was it?
It would just... He got scrambled, and he just never recovered, and he just didn't know what to do. So he was just falling all over, just trying to avoid taking more punishment, and it wasn't a good look for me for the referee. I just think he took, 5 or 6 punches more than he should have done, and we all know how, much of a dangerous sport boxing in general is, and I think he didn't take a barrage of unnecessary punishment, but he took 5 or 6 digs that he didn't necessarily need to take, and it only takes one. But let's not take away from the winner's performance. It was, he did what he had to do. He looked good. He put some crisp combinations together. He looked strong at the weight. It was a good 7, 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, big up Pat and Luca for joining us. Hope you're well this evening, boys. Thanks as always.
Our regulars there.
Similar to what you just said, mate. I'm sorry, Sam. I predicted that he would 3 or 4 rounds to get going. He might take a few rounds to work out. River Wilson Bent, and he didn't. He was on him from the first round.
Straight away.
I'm not saying he came out in 5th gear, and if he didn't get him out of there in the first few rounds, he might have tired down the stretch. It was still methodical. It was still calculated, but it was clinical. every punch he was throwing, he already knew what the next 2 or 3 afterwards were going to be.
I like that from
Wilson, I liked it from him. Wilson Bent didn't even establish his jab, let alone anything else. And before you knew it, he'd been down twice, and the fight was
time
over.
though, didn't it? Do you know, like a lot of people in his position with not that many fights, and I don't mean this patronising him. As soon as Wilson Bent got sort of, stumbled and sort of his brain scrambled, he didn't just go all out. He was very reserved, and he kept to his crisp boxing. Was obviously throwing power shots trying to get him out of there, but he didn't just go all out, because we see it too many times where they'll go initially all out straight away trying to stop. And if they don't get him out of there, they've lost a heck of a lot of gas that they've maybe saved for 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and further. He sort of stayed reserved and picked his punches more than anything for me, which was like a mature stoppage for me. I think he did it the right way, took his time, knew that he had the kid beat, but didn't waste unnecessary energy.
Exactly, you bang on the money, Jay. When he was fumbling everywhere, he didn't rush him. He didn't try and leave himself exposed. He picked it. It was clinical.
It was clinical without being reckless.
Yeah,
he wasn't reckless.
Clinical without being reckless.
It's
still got to be. They say a wounded animal is, a wounded dog or whatever it is at its more dangerous. You corner a dog. I'm not calling, River Wilson Bent a dog by any way, shape or form. But what I'm saying is, if he knows within himself that he's hurt, then he's going to go swinging, isn't it? And all it would have took is for Thompson to just walk onto one and bam, it changed the whole complexion of the fight. And we're talking about, River Wilson Bent going on to bigger and better things off the back of a victory that was sort of not undeserved, but maybe unexpected. So I think he did it right. I liked it. I really did. I really liked it.
That's what it was. It was a professional job. He done what was expected to do without taking any risks. And now he can get out early again next year. He doesn't have to wait for silly cuts to heal because he was rushing in and got clipped stupid. He's fresh and ready to go as soon as that phone rings. And that's what you need when you're now 13-0 and you want to push towards domestic honours.
Definitely.
Elsewhere on the card, Hughie Fury won a points decision, shock horror. Matthew Hughes with a great final round stoppage as well. Those GBM cards, fair play to Jay's best mate Izzy. He puts on. We're not going to start that debate again tonight. No chance. We're full of love tonight. There's no.
You know me, man. I say things for a reaction. There's no malice behind it. The guy's doing well. He's found a little niche pocket for himself within boxing. He had Eddie there, didn't he? Eddie sat next to him. We're discussing fights. They'd obviously shared the venue.
Was kept for Matchroom, so Eddie had that much of a nightmare with the whole Johnny Fisher thing off, and then the original Dalton Smith thing. They came last minute to Sheffield, didn't they? And Izzy basically helped Eddie, so. I'm sure that'll stand him in good stead.
That's what I mean. You scratch my back and I scratch yours, sort of thing. But it was sold out. This is not a dig at Matchroom, but there were more people there for the GBM show than there were the Matchroom show. It was pretty much sold out for the GBM show. Allegedly, it was sold out for the Matchroom show, but I saw a fair few empty seats, and it was a lot quieter. But as we said, it was a hastily put together show with. Two fighters on the main that weren't necessarily meant to be the main, so it was sort of I know we're gonna go on to that, but I'm just making a comparison that to say that GBM, what are they, just under or just over 2 years into the big time boxing, and everybody knows who they are now. They've got Adam Smith. I don't know what he does. Is he doing comms? Is he doing play-by-play? He's a bit of all sorts, isn't he? But they've got some big heads there, some big names, some big faces, and they're making some decent signings as well.
This, sorry, mate, Luca's comment here, completely agree, was the best show of the weekend. Watching that back, it was far better entertainment than the York Hall Wasserman card that I was at. But only thing I will say is to do with timings. If the chief support, which was Reece Mould and Ryan Walsh, went the distance, and if this fight went the distance, you're looking at about half midnight that we would have been wrapping
up. It would have been tough.
The fact we had 2 blowouts in the main 2 fights sort of
you're right.
I was standing outside York Hall, wasn't I? 20 past 11 talking to you boys, and the main event was in the 3rd rounds when it finished. But it was a fantastic card, don't get me wrong, but perhaps the pacing could be better.
They'll learn what they'll learn the new to sort of live audiences, the new to TV audiences, and I believe that putting a regional show and putting a primetime TV show on is totally different. And I think I mean, we experienced for the first time in a long time an early sort of finish on Saturday night, and it was it worked, man. It certainly worked for me. You know, and apparently they're going to be looking at that moving forward. Whether they stick to that or not, I don't know. But the cards, they sort of overlap, but didn't knock each other over. They sort of all worked together. It worked. It sort of worked. You know, the timings worked. It was a little bit clunky, but I think
Lucas.
Go on, sorry.
Sorry, mate. I was going to say, Luca's right there. To be honest with you, Luca, I can't even drag myself to cover any more of Edwards Asomba. I think me and Jay did the watch along for that. Liam was obviously live in the arena. So between the three of us, we've definitely watched and spoke enough about Charlie Edwards and Asomba. But yeah, obviously solid enough win.
Sonny's Nan's court was the highlight of the evening for me.
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
The only positive to that fight was it ring walks at 10:15. So there you go. It was an early ring walk.
That's true.
Yeah, it was a tough watch.
We'll get on to Sandy Ryan and Michaela Mayer then next. Happened in the Hulu, the mini MSG. Lots of controversy before the fight even started. Sandy got ambushed by somebody with a load of red paint.
One part of it, though. There's apparently there were a load of leaflets.
I saw that. Yeah, there was a big hate campaign going up against Sandy. It's very weird. It's not like she's massively outspoken or like hateable character or anything.
It's to do with the stealing, and this is not my words. I'm sort of paraphrasing what's been said.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Mayor, but they've said that she stole her coach and she did it in a bad way. And then Sandy Ryan says, well, no, he was never your full-time coach. He never got paid. And so it's a bit of back and forth. But look, whether they can link Michaela Mayer to the disgusting actions of throwing paint on a woman, you know, an hour before she's due to ring walk and putting the defamatory comments on the leaflets, it's petty. But you can't not. No randomer's going to do that. Why would a random? I know what I'll do.
No chance.
I'll target this random girl from Derby.
Just walking out of a hotel
in New York. I'll just randomly throw paint on her. We know why this has happened. You know, Michaela Mayer's not an idiot, so it's going to be 10 times removed from her. That, you know, the blame doesn't lie at her doorstep as such, but it also does.
And then, like Eddie said, and I'm not saying Eddie's a saint, but like he gets things in check. He says if any top ranked fighters fight on my shows, we have them personally escorted from the hotel to transport to the arena.
Nobody should have been able to get close enough. Sandy Ryan, right? Whether she is mainstream or not, she's a reigning world champion that's defending her belt, right? She's making her way to the arena. At the very least, she has a couple of security guards with her. She could have got murdered, right? It could have been some psychopath that you know, stabbed her or threw that could have been acid. Or also for me, Sandy's too prideful to admit this, right? But I don't care what anybody says. Mentally, that affects you before you go into your fight.
Massively.
I've been in incidents before now where someone's run up at me, right? And it startles you and your heart goes at 1,000,000 miles an hour. She's getting in the zone there. She's got a routine. I don't know the girl, so I'm not pretending that I know it, but I'm going off experience, right? Boxers go through a routine. Ordinarily, they're very regimented. So she'll have got a mind focused on, right, we're going to go to the arena. She had a certain outfit on. She might wear certain stuff. She might be superstitious. You know, there could be, you know, my brother were a professional boxer. He wouldn't stand on cracks in the road and he'd wash his head 3 times and he'd wear these socks. And, you know, footballers do it in sport. I don't care what you say, it affected her performance. She'll never admit it. But I'm telling you now that affected her performance. I'm not saying we'd have got a different result, but we'd have got a different performance from Sandy. You can't tell me it didn't affect her mentally. Don't care what anyone says.
I can't even remember how I scored the fight. Obviously, we did the watch along for that one as well, but I can't even remember how I scored it. But Maya definitely performed well on the night. But like you say, there's a dark cloud over it a little bit.
There is, but I had Sandy Ryan winning it by 2 points.
I know I scored it a draw. I remember now.
Yeah. I did 97-93 Mayer, and I've watched it twice. So I've scored it the same both times. To
be honest with you, I was going to lean anyway. I'd give it
subjective. I had it a similar score to you the other way. So it's all subjective. So it's one of them fights where I think a draw would have been a fair result.
They have to run it back, man. They have to.
Oh, 100%. Without a shadow of a doubt. It's the biggest fight anyway for both of them. It's the biggest fight for boxing.
Yeah, it
anyway.
is. Yeah, it
especially
is,
with the controversy of the coaches and now the controversy of the pain and but where do they do it? Do they do it in neutral territory in Saudi somewhere?
No, Maya's not going to come over for it. She'll have to go back, Sandy.
Well, it's the one each now, aren't they? Maya got shit on over here. Sandy's got shit, obviously not together, but they've both had shit results away from home. Do it on the next Saudi card and let's just, as Lucas says though, 2 minute rounds.
Bang on the money there.
3 minute rounds. We've got a more definitive result.
We spoke about that and didn't. Sorry, Liam. Me and Jay were speaking about it throughout that whole fight. These 2 minute rounds are so hard to score. They honestly are. Like, I just like
going, bing, bing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just as the round's getting going, it's over.
Yeah, it's my biggest gripe. We claim all the time it's boxing. It's not women's boxing. But when you stick 2 minute rounds on when you stick 2 minute rounds only on women's fights, then you're differentiating it. And you're right, that fight on Friday night, I guarantee if that was 12 threes or 10 threes, you would have a more clear-cut idea of who wins the fight because the extra 60 seconds in each round would have made a massive difference. How many of those
somebody
rounds
can start to pull away and stuff, can't they?
How many of those rounds were really close and then one of them would start pulling away in the last 10 seconds, but then you're left scoring it going, well, does that last 10, 15 seconds actually win them the round? Oh, I wish we had the extra minute.
It needs to be like football. Yeah. They don't make the goals smaller and have it 80 minutes and make the pitches smaller, do they? It's 11 aside. You play on a bog standard pitch, bog standard goals, 90 minutes, crack on. Whether it's as good on the eye is a totally separate, and if there's many people watch it. But what I'm saying is, it's just football. Women play football. It's the sport. So if boxing, professional boxing is 10 for non-championship, 12 for championship, the time for rounds, look at MMA. It's 5 minute rounds, men or women, 3 for a regular fight, 5 for a championship fight. They're making it about women's sport. What they're saying, women can't fight for 3 minute rounds. I'm not saying that, by the way. I'm an advocate to make it the same. Make it the same, 3 minute rounds. And I'm telling you now, we get less of these controversial decisions because the judging is, we're watching it as well, and we're confused. You've scored it different to me. Sam scored, all three of us have scored it different. And we all watched exactly the same fight. Me and Sam watched it together, discussing it round by round, doing play by play, and both scored it different. I think if the 3 minute rounds were there, we would get more definitive winners of rounds. You'd still get fights where rounds are, subjective. We get that anyway, don't we, in boxing? But I think it'd be easier to score for me.
I think if you think about it, and if without going into it too much, how often when you finish a female world title fight that's competitive and both girls are of the top level, do you get one judge scores it by 7 rounds to 3 to one fighter, one judge scores it a draw, and then you get one the other way? It's more regular that you get inconsistent scoring in the female fights. And it may just be a coincidence, but to me, that is down to the fact it's 2 minute rounds instead of 3 minute rounds. Bring it up to 3 minute rounds. I'm not saying for all fights, but for world title fights, it should be, even if 10 threes, I don't care, but 3 minute rounds should be the standard for world title fights. Men
just end the story. Yeah, it should just be 3 minutes. But I'll give you an example. So the Dubois Joshua fight, right? If that had been 2 minute rounds, we would have had one knockdown. Because if you remember, Dubois, I know he hurt AJ in the first round, but the second, the third, and the fourth, I don't know about the fifth, but he knocked him down. I think 2 of them, the bell went sort of either.
Yeah, they were right at the end of the first round and right at the end of the third round, wasn't it?
But we wouldn't have had those, would we? They'd have been sat on the stool getting ready to get up for the next round.
Literally, the count in the first and third round, the bell rang in the background as Marcus McDonald was giving the count. So you're right there. We would have only had to one knockdown in the fifth. Don't get me wrong, that punch probly would have finished the fight anyway.
Yeah, it would have finished it anyway, but what I'm saying is...
that punch finished the fight without the other knockdowns.
The other 2 knockdowns, you can't say. So it completely changed that fight for me, because AJ may have got himself back, may have got his second wind, and we've got a different result. Because he hurt Dubois, and I think if you'd have had a bit more about him in terms of his consciousness and that, it might not walk straight onto that. But anyway,
no doubt it can change the outcome of fights. Pat thinks that Maya's got no option other than to fight Ryan in the UK. The WBO definitely should order it. Pat, I agree with that.
They won't order it over it. She won't. She's the champion. I don't believe she has to defend it here, but I don't believe that.
But like you said earlier, it's definitely the biggest money fight out there, and I'd imagine at 34, Michaela Maya's only after the biggest money fights. I can only imagine.
Or is she just going to be a bitch about it and say, "Nah, I'm not giving you another shot"?
money talks.
Look at it like this: if she wants to go after belts, and you got Lauren Price, another UK fighter. That was her first fight in America since 2019.
No money in it. No money in the Lauren Price fight.
If she wants belts, bashed in if she boxes Lauren Price.
She would get her face bashed in, but all of her interviews leading up to the fight, she wasn't talking about money. She was talking about getting this belt and then picking up other belts. So if that's the path you want to go down, and you're not going to rematch Sandy, then you go towards Lauren Price. And yes, she will get her face boxed in, but it's the unification.
Price versus Ryan.
Yeah.
And then if that's what she wants, if that's what it's all about. But for me, as a boxing fan, if she does not rematch Sandy Ryan, just to prove that she can beat her, because Sandy Ryan, I follow her on social, and she's not once said that. In fact, she said the opposite. She said it didn't affect her. She's not going to admit that because she's not the kind to look for excuses. But if Maya really believes that she's better than her, fight her then. Fight her again on neutral territory. I win. Fight her on.
Big up, Wayne. How's things, my man? Okay, then we'll tie that one up for there then, boys. We'll lastly cover off Terry Harper against Rhiannon Dixon. Terry Harper, 3-time world champion now. Looked good, to be fair, against Rhiannon Dixon. Dixon didn't really, ever look overly threatening. She buzzed Harper a couple of times, but she went into the fight with 1 knockout, so that was never really a massive threat. And Anthony Crawler, Jay's best mate, unfortunately,
I'm joking.
On the receiving end. But Terry Harper, fair play to her, man. Like a lot of people, myself included, thought Dixon would win that fight. She's been wrote off after the Baumgardner knockout, wrote off after being destroyed by Sandy Ryan last time out. So, credit to her. At 27, she's got a lot left to give to the game.
Yeah, I questioned her massively. And I had Jams, obviously, being from just down the road from Terry, was adamant on my show last week that this is Terry's back down where it's.
I had her on as well, Boxing Media Hub yesterday. Shout out for that.
And I stuck to my guns and thought that, okay, she's coming back down to a more natural weight, but for the first time in 18 months, what's it going to do? Bring her body back down after she's been higher, even if it is a more natural weight. But she put in a performance. It was a typical Steffi Ball fighter type performance where they go in there as the underdog. They go in there, people thinking they're shot. They haven't got a chance in hell. And they completely rip the script up and to deliver a performance that, look, when Terry Harper fights next, we will go back and look at that Dixon fight and say, how phenomenal was she on that night? It's like her run she had prior to Baumgardner all over again. But that is what Steffi Ball does best. When his fighters' backs are against the wall and no one gives them a chance, they go in there and they produce performances.
Gavin McDonnell. Gavin McDonnell.
You can't help but applaud them. And for Rhiannon Dixon, she'll come again. Her and Ant Crawler will stick together. They'll rebuild. They'll know that possibly
it was the wrong game plan. She was chasing her. It
was. You're right.
It wasn't working. She was just getting picked off, and she did remind me of Crawler. She was boxing very similar. You can see the influence. I did say that.
Oh yeah.
During the fight. It's a first loss, and no shame in that loss either. I think I scored it a draw, but I think watching it back now, I was doing it with my Crawler tinted glasses on. I think I was a little bit biased, and I think I admitted that fight night, Sam, when we turned the score.
Oh yeah.
I'm flipping a judge. When I picked up the piece of paper, I'd written the scores on in biro. But yeah, I think I've watched it again, and I gave it to Harper by 2 or 3 rounds. But it was close. She's boxed. Dixon has to take a lot from this. She won a world title when she wasn't really expected to win it so soon. She's boxed, one of Britain's most successful female boxers. I think she's the first woman to win 3 titles in 3 weight divisions. The first women from these shores to win 3 titles in 3 weight divisions. She's going to go down as a Hall of Famer when she retires.
Credit to her. She was an underdog on Saturday night. So,
I've written her off. I forgot she were only 27.
It's insane. It actually is insane. She's had like 3 careers.
Yeah, and nobody got behind her. I don't care who you are. If you didn't know her, other than like the likes of Jams, a lot of people thought that the new girl was going to come and put it on her. She was on the slide, and I wonder if they took that fight thinking they were on the slide. I don't know that, and I never asked Anthony about anything like that. So I don't know, but fair play, Terry Harper. Congratulations, well deserved. I'd like to see her go on and attempt to unify.
Yeah, Pat had it 6-4 to Harper. I think I had it similar, Pat. To be honest, I can't remember what I scored it now, but I edged it to Harper. I think it was close enough, I thought, but Harper definitely won.
Well warmed up though, didn't it? That fight.
It did. It was a good fight. It was a good fight.
That is a perfect example again for 3-minute rounds. Could you imagine the type of fight we'd have had if then rounds had been like, because
yeah,
you know, she
really
was catching
Dixon, like
Dixon were catching her, and then bam, they sat on the stool.
I think you got to say as well, Harper's experience of she's been to the World Championship fights over the last 4 or 5 years.
1 second, I'm gonna have to shut my dogs out. They're doing my nutting. Sorry.
Played a factor in the fight, didn't it? If you look at it, Rhiannon Dixon boxed how she has done before, had success in the fight, but she was only in her third world title fight. She didn't have that experience against the polished operator that knows what to do at world level. And I'm not saying that's the reason she lost the fight, but for me, it was a factor in it. Terry Harper's world title experience, the fact she's been there, done it, got the t-shirt on both sides of the coin, played a massive factor in the fight. Rhiannon will come again 100%. She doesn't need to make drastic changes now to that. She doesn't need to start questioning herself.
Just looked a bit green. She's a bit green. Terry's more seasoned. Simple as that.
Exactly.
A couple of times, I mentioned it on the live, there were a couple of times where they were clinching and Dixon needed to just give herself a little bit of room and work off a jab. And she was trying too hard to sort of catch her with a right hook and catch her with a left hook and then tying up and not. Whereas Terry Harper was experienced at that level. She knows how to manipulate her way through a fight. And it became apparent that one of these girls had boxed at world title level and the other girl was fairly new and green. And it was just an experience thing. Those two were evenly matched. Those girls could box 10 times and it could finish 5-5. You know, it was that. Dixon's not that far off that level. I know she was the reigning world champion, but it was her first defense. She is definitely world level. And she proved that. I know she lost, but if she and Team Dixon and Anthony and that don't take a lot from this, I'd be very, very, very surprised. And let's be real now. People have stopped getting so caught up on the maintaining the own. Not everybody's Mayweather, right? Some of the best fighters have been better post losses. Yeah, sometimes it changes something within them. Look at the run Canelo went on when he lost against Mayweather. Do you know what I'm saying? He didn't lose for another 10 years. I know I'm not saying Dixon's Canelo, but I'm just using him as an example of a high, you know, he got a high profile loss and it made him, you know,
you see it all the time, and it's not so common in boxing, but you see it in mixed martial arts a lot more often. Losses do definitely shape people's careers. As long as you learn from it, as long as you don't, you know, believe your own hype, as long as you actually take the lessons from the defeat. But I think we'll move on now, boys. I think that'll cover it from last week's lackluster boxing. Let's just be quite honest. But we'll start in Liverpool. This week we'll cover Saturday first, and then we'll cover Janibek against Mikhailovic after that. Lucas at Liverpool.
Why? Where else? We've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah. We'll start and we'll finish in Liverpool. Dubois, exactly. That's a good example. Daniel Dubois. He's the perfect example of what you do when you lose a fight.
There you go,
lost to Joyce, lost to Usyk, and he's the man now. He's arguably the definitely top 3, but could even be argued to be top 2 heavyweight now, Daniel Dubois. So absolutely, Luca. But yeah, we'll go to Liverpool. Nick Ball against Ronny Rios. Not a fight that many people were clambering out for. Nick Ball just coming off the back of a big win in the 5 versus 5 against a man who I rate very highly, Raymond Ford. Was unlucky not to be a unified champion, to be honest. He beat Ray Vargas back in December, in my mind. Should be WBC and WBA honours on the line here, but it's for Ball's WBA featherweight championship. Rios, you go down his record. He's had one fight at 126. He's lost to Akhmadaliev, better known as MJ, a couple of years ago. He was stopped by him. He's got a couple of other defeats to better known fighters. But at 34, yeah, exactly. At 34, he's probably over the hill. Let's be honest. Can't see anything other than the wrecking ball just destroying him. If I'm being honest with you,
I think. We spoke on your pick show, didn't we, Liam? Sorry to cut, and we said something very similar. I think, you know, it's lined up for Nick Ball's homecoming.
Showcase, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think I went late. I can't remember.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think it'll stop him late. I don't think Ball's like he's not a concussive. He's more of a break. He'll just wear you down. Yeah, cumulative. Yeah, exactly.
I think for me, everything you need to know about this fight, and I made this point yesterday. Rios' win that he had in June, He magically, from that 8-rounder, got himself into the WBA's top 10. He's the number 7. He's now in the ring against Nick Ball this weekend. That's all you need to know about this fight. And look, we don't like voluntary defenses in boxing. We really don't. We could do without them. But Rhodes Warrior Nick Ball, that's not fought in Liverpool,
deserves a homecoming, doesn't it?
Deserves it. And to nick something that Jay said on my show last night, as long as Rios doesn't shoot his load too early in the fight, then Nick Ball probably will get him out of there in the second half. Yeah, I've watched it back there. That made the cut. That is still on there.
I tried to pull it back. I meant to show his bolt.
That's not much. But as long as Rios doesn't do that,
shoot his wrecking ball.
It's arguments for the reason, mate.
It's Nick Ball's fight to lose a bit. It's Nick Ball's fight to lose, isn't it?
Easy for you to say.
Well, to be honest with you, it'd be upset of the year if he loses. Put it that way.
Yeah. I think Dubois versus AJ is going to be upset of the year, isn't it? Not for me, but yeah.
Nick Ball should be able to move through the gears. They've sold 6,000-7,000 tickets, like I said last night.
Put a show on.
Nice
Put a show on for your fans.
Put a show on. Show the fans that, hey, I'm going to listen for unification fights this arena, and I want 12,000-13,000 viewing it, making this place. Look at what I can do. Which is why last night I leaned towards him finishing the job in the first half of the fight. He's such a front foot pressure fighter, and if he does similar to what he done against Isaac Lowe at Wembley, whereas he had Lowe on the hook and he didn't let Lowe off until he cowered or turned away in the corner looking to catch a break.
He said that, not me.
Until that happens, he just never let him off the hook. He was relentless from the first bell. He seems to have a gas tank that can go from minute 1 to minute 36, no matter what he gets hit with, no matter what he goes through. And Rios is 34 years old, only second fight at featherweight. How much does he want it? How much dog is left in him? First time fighting outside of America. Is he over here for a paycheck? Is he over here because he's been put in by the WBA? Or has he seen something from their common opponent, Ray Vargas, and gone, actually, no, this is what I can do to Nick Ball?
It's a Frank Warren special. Nick Ball will fight anybody. He's proved that in his last few fights. That man will fight anyone. He went to war with Ray Ford. That was an incredible...
Digging all, doesn't he? Takes a good shot as well. I've never even seen
he's tough as all boots. He literally is a wrecking ball. I know his nickname's that, but he's willing to take one to give one. That's his fighting style. He knows he's going to get wet when he fights, but he's so entertaining to watch. But again, it just leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. It's kind of a pointless fight for me. Surely they could have dragged someone better out the gutter than Ronny Rios.
The only thing that's making this not be a proper throwback Terry Flanagan, Frank Warren special is it's not the WBO. The only thing missing is it's the wrong world title belt on the line.
Yeah, you're right.
Start dissing Turbo. I love you.
No. I'm just making a point that there's normally WBO belt when Frank is, doing his fight his favourites at home. But look, me and you said last night, didn't we, mate? After this fight, the Ray Vargas rematch, because he's still the WBC champions there for him. That's probably the most high-profile world champion. He may look to go and pick up the IBF or the WBO belt first.
No, you're missing it. You're missing it.
Go on.
Feed him to Inoue. It's the best fight of featherweight you can possibly have. Nick Ball versus Naoya Inoue is the best fight of featherweight.
You replace him.
Give me Ball versus Inoue at the Tokyo Dome. Let's go.
I didn't know Dev Sahini was host on this podcast.
Got me Dev Sani on SW Fight Hub's Dev Sani.
I think, I mean, Nick Ball will fight him, and Nick Ball will do as the other two Brits, Paul Butler and Jamie McDonnell, have done, and he'll probably have to go to Japan for it.
You ain't getting a new way out.
I had to laugh because Ball said in an interview with Dev this week, coincidentally enough, he's like, he needs to come over here and fight me. He's like, yeah, Inoue's going to leave Japan to come and fight you, Nick. I'm sorry, mate. But absolutely. No chance at all.
To be fair, though, I mean,
I'm
not. My Japanese is not what it was, but I'm pretty sure that Inoue said that fighting at the M&S Bank Arena is on his bucket list.
yeah.
He wants to go down shopping at L1.
Yeah.
No, I mean, Sam, look, that's the dream fight, isn't it? But it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Not unless Ball cleans up. Gets Vargas out of there.
If Ball cleans up and becomes unified, Inoue could maybe do it. But let's be honest, Inoue's fighting hopefully MJ, then Junto Nakatani, isn't he? But yeah, Ball MJ, I'll take that if MJ moves up to 126. Pat.
Yeah. But being really honest, Nick Ball has the potential to go in and unify this weight class. And that's not Brit bias. That is going off of what we've seen from him over the last 18 months, 2 years. He is in the best position, is the youngest world champion, still has scope to improve. He's got the best chance of doing it. I'm sure there's Americans and people from other parts of the world that will disagree with me saying that, but I strongly believe if he can get on the right ends of a decision against Ray Vargas this time round, regardless of where they do that fight, he will pick up the other 2 belts quite handily. And then, you do entice like a Inoue or MJ coming up. That'd be a fantastic fight. But it has to be more belts first. If they want to leave Ray Vargas for when he's got 2 world title belts soon, so he's got more hardware to it, fine, do that. But go after some belts. Get back out to Saudi if you have to take the fights.
Listen, Nick Ball has all the attributes to be a great, right? He can fight, he can box, he's powerful, he's deceptively long for the size of him, and he hits pretty hard. As Sam said, he's probably not a one-punch knockout merchant, but he hits hard enough to worry anybody, and his accumulation of damage is, he's great. I think if they market him and manipulate him through the fights the right way, this kid could be massive, and be a mainstream, a big deal mainstream for me. He's got everything.
Nick Ball has the crossover appeal because he's got such a fan-friendly style. Now what we need to do after these fights is give it meaningful names in the opposite corner that is going to come and fight, some hardware on the line, and that's how you generate a star. I don't need to talk to you guys about how you build a star, but that's what needs to happen now. Get this one out of the way. If we can get his first fight next year in the UK for reunification, fantastic. Let's start building them over here. We talk about the next generation of British fighters after Fury, after AJ, etc. Here's one right here that's still at the start of his journey, if we're being really honest.
Stephen Fulton's is mandatory now, is he? I read.
That's a good fight.
It was Shushu was number 1, Bruce Carrington, but now it's Stephen Fulton just moved up this week. Shushu fought last week.
Ball will beat the shit out of Fulton. I think he
stopped him. I think he stops Fulton.
I think he beats the shit out of him.
Especially how he looked in his last fight.
Yeah, that Stephen Fulton wouldn't do well against Nick Ball, but it's a former world. If you're not going to get a unification fight, that's a former world champion from the weight class below. That's an attractive fight. That's something that we'd want to see. 100%. That's the fight to make. Yeah. He's the mandatory, and you think how hard Nick Ball had to fight to get a world title after being robbed against Vargas. He's not going to give it up because he doesn't want to fight as mandatory. He's going to tell Frank.
Ball fight any of them. He'd fight.
You'll have to nail Nick Ball to the canvas to beat him. He's not going out. Listen, he'll give his all. Right. And his engine's just as good in round 12. Just a little bit lower. His
cardio, chin, everything, engine.
It's the full package. It's the full package.
You're right.
I can't wait to see what's next for him. Obviously, I'm not overlooking the weekend. Well, I am sort of, but I don't expect him to lose at the weekend. I just don't expect him to lose, which gives me foresight to look forward. After
slagging the fight off for 10 minutes, just good time to inform everyone. We will be here for a live watch along to Nick Ball and Ronny Rios.
Don't worry about that. Just quickly on Nick Ball before we move on. When he was brought in to fight Isaac Lowe at Wembley on the Fury white card, he was brought in as the B side of that fight. He wasn't signed by Queensbury at that point. He was brought in because Isaac Lowe always gets the slice of a pie on a big Tyson Fury card as his cousin. Yeah. That's what happens. Nick Ball was the British unbeaten fighter that no one really thought would do much, aiming for the fight. And look what he done within 6 rounds, and he won pretty much every minute of those 6 rounds. Frank signed him, and he's been on an incredible journey since. Without that opportunity that he got given at Wembley, Nick Ball could still be fighting on the small hall scene, and we're not even talking about him, if we're being really honest.
I agree. Yeah, big up Minky M for joining us. Appreciate it. I've just given a massive spiel to make Nick Ball versus Inoue. If you've only just joined us, rewind it about 4 minutes, I would say, and you'll get some entertainment about my sales pitch for that fight. Lucas said, don't think Cambamus had less. Yeah, no, definitely. I'd prefer to see him active, Luca, most definitely. I don't think Nick Ball really cares or has any say in his matchmaking. If I'm being completely honest, I think Frank and Queensbury matchmakers probably made this fight. I don't think Ball and his team really care. He'd fight anybody in front of him. Wayne, completely right, mate. He's game as a badger, is Nick Ball. Dave's joined us. Big up, mate, for tuning in. Unless Al Heyman makes percentage from Ball versus Fulton, it doesn't happen. Agree. PBC, we keep Fulton in-house and fight Ray Vargas as a voluntary. I actually agree with that. Yeah.
Al Heyman is on the bones of his ass, mate. He ain't got a brass button. Al Heyman's done out there. The Fulton Turkey will buy him out shortly. He ain't got anyone, has he? He's got full earnings.
He's up. Oh, he's gone. Al Heyman. Al Heyman cut him off. On his back.
Sorry, Al. Jesus.
I'd like to thank Al Heyman for cutting Jay off.
But no, Al Heyman was big in the game. But he was attached to Floyd Mayweather. He had Spence and Porter, and he started buying them all.
He only makes in-house fights. He only makes PBC versus PBC. Yeah, he's behind the times.
He's not interested in fighting outside of PBC, is he? He's just don't like that type of risk.
Stephen Fulton said after his last fight that his PBC contract's done now. So if that PBC contract is done, then we get him in with Nick Ball. If we don't, then we probably will see him fight Ray Vargas.
I would rather see that fight myself, though. The Vargas fight.
I think Fulton would beat Vargas. Not based off his last performance, but I reckon he would beat Vargas. I'm not sure what Vargas has left. If he wasn't helped by the judges against Ball back in February this year, he wouldn't still be a lot.
Yeah, it took a lot for him to stay in there against Ball, didn't it, really? He got a
The first half of the fight, he was out boxing Ball, and then the second half of the fight, he had a nightmare. He couldn't stay upright.
Once Ball took his best, it took everything Vargas had to outbox Ball.
He's so tall and long, and Ball's tiny.
Yeah, once Ball got his rhythm and Vargas had lost a bit of cardio, Vargas struggled then. You know what I mean? And he got a gift. He got a gift.
And that's why I favour Fulton. That's why I favour Fulton if he did fight Vargas. And then, there's fights to make there, but hopefully Fulton's out of that contract now and we can see him in with Nick Ball.
Can I just... PBC's done. Do you know why? Shall I tell you why? Because Puff Daddy's in jail. That's why. PBC and Al Heyman's deal will be done this year. It will not see out 2024. No, did it?
Today's Fight Talk exclusive here.
I'll be in jail tomorrow.
He'll have Uncle Frank's team coming to us, knocking on his front door.
I didn't call anybody a scumbag.
He didn't call anyone a scumbag, in fairness. So Turkey will have to sort things out if they're not careful. He'll have to issue a statement like Frank and Eubank. But so aside from Nick Ball against Ronny Rios, we've got Janibek is fighting Mikhailovic in Sydney. I think it's going to be around about Friday lunchtime. That one UK time anyway. Probably around about 9-10 p.m. Local time. Rescheduled from not so long ago. Janibek nearly got himself into, he did get himself into some big trouble with his dehydration, should I say. Collapsed and the fight got called off. They've got it on quite quickly. For me, I thought that would have been the back of Janibek at 160 pounds, if I'm being completely honest. Liam's got some strong views on this, so I'll pass the floor to him. Right now, just a couple more comments, Liam, before I do. Exactly. Warm beer, Frank Warren style, like it. Was that Adam Catchell and Frank Warren that were going warm beer or whatever it was?
Adam sitting there sort of, he didn't back out, but he didn't stand on.
He didn't stand his ground.
Want to stand arguing with Frank, really.
Yeah, I think I'm with Minkim as well. I think that'd be a tough fight for Fulton. Vargas is fairly underrated, to be honest, even though Ball should have beat him. Love that one on Don Charles. Don't disrespect any fighter, trainer, promoter, you'll be sacked. Love Don Charles, man. Just speaks it as it is. Mr. Andy, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Well, listen, we'll slag them all if we have to. We're our own bosses.
He said that. We'll sit down.
But yeah, on to Janibek then, Liam. Give me some thoughts, because I know you've got some strong opinions on this.
My honest opinion, my honest opinion is, what the actual heck is he doing being allowed to fight at 160 again? I'm talking the IBF. I'm talking the commission that's allowing this fight to happen. Top Rank, his training team, whoever his partner, his wife, who is saying, yeah, great, get yourself down to 160.
Bring the wife into it.
Why ended up in hospital?
Sorry, Janibek. Sorry.
The guy ended up in hospital with drips attached to him because he dehydrated himself that much to try and make.
Shouldn't be allowed.
5 months ago. What does this IBF belt have for him? Seriously, what is so important about staying down at 160 and defending this belt that you're now going over to Australia to earn less money than you were earning already from your low purse in the States to put yourself all through it again?
I don't believe he has. I believe he's.
They lost the purse bid by $1,000. They lost it by $1,000.
I think they're rolling him out. Right, come on, you're doing this because of what happened last time. I think they're just rolling him out. They don't give a shit about him. If they did, he won't be fighting at 160.
Put it this way: if we all wake up tomorrow morning and we're talking to each other saying Janabek has made weight, that's the first big win of the weekend.
I'll be shocked.
Happens in the fight. I will be shocked if we still have a main event happening after the weigh-in. By that I mean a main event.
I think he'll make it. He'll make it.
What it takes out of him, though. The honest thing is,
that's what I mean. He's gonna struggle.
Mikhailovic isn't the guy to capitalize on that.
No, so Mikhailovic is the opponent to do it, but
yeah, if you put Hamza Shiraz in there, then you've got a problem. But
God, it could be 168 and Shiraz at 160 and it gets smashed.
Yeah, definitely. He does look tight. Dave, he's dead at the weight. He's completely dead at the weight. But Andrei Mikhailovic isn't the guy to expose that, in my opinion.
No.
Let's make a comparison for people in the comments. You can say if you agree with this or not. Hamza Shiraz and Janabek. Hamza Shiraz is another big guy that gets himself down to 160, doesn't currently look dead at the weight, and is still able to put in world-level performances.
He's 160, apparently. This guy up here, look.
I was a couple of weeks, mate. I was a couple of months ago. My latest years.
You want some of that Saudi money, boy? I'm not fighting Lawrence Okoli. You're mad.
No, I'm fighting the Eubank for the IBO.
Show me the money.
That's my point, mate. You've got two fighters in this division that are both supposedly tight at the weight, but Hamza Shiraz is still able to put in performances. Even Janabek's last two fights, before he didn't manage to make it onto the trails because he had dehydration, he already looked tight at the weight. He already looked lackluster in his performances.
Yeah.
So the writing's been on the wall for a long time. It just makes me wonder, if you got a good coach, Jay, you can comment on this more than me. If you got a good coach and training team around you, then you would expect them to move you up in weight, wouldn't you? You'd expect them to say the time's right to move up. To answer this, no, I haven't heard anything that Hamza struggled to make 160, but I'm comparing two big guys with big frames. And when you look,
he says it himself, though. Hamza Shiraz says it himself. He says it's it's not meant to be easy.
Hamza definitely struggles to make 160.
He openly admits that, but they do it right and structured, and I don't believe that Janabek does it right. I believe he does it the old school way, crashes it 25 pounds maybe 3 days before. I've seen it, and it's hard.
Kem's made a good point as well. Hamza's 24, 25. His body would respond better to it. That's definitely a fair point as well. But do you boys envisage any problems for Janabek? I don't. I think
if he makes weight and he's on point, then he'll win this fight in under 6 rounds for me.
I think he'll win a decision. I think he'll box fairly cautiously. Then I believe he'll go up to 168. I think he's just taking this fight because just to shut up some of the doubters after what's happened, and I think we'll see him move up to 168 after it.
If he makes weight, I'm with you, Sam. I think he'll be fight cautious and look to win on points. I don't think he trusts in himself enough that he'll be able to recover.
Kanovic is undefeated, but you look down his record and he's boxing at the next level. Now he's fought no one.
He hasn't fought anyone at that level, has he? That's why I thought he might get him out of there. But
Janabek will go safety first.
If he goes safety first, then we'll go in points, aren't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But yeah, that covers what we've got to look forward to this week. I've got loads of news talking points for this week. So this is where we need everyone in the chat to keep us going as well. I've got quite a few talking points. Wayne's just chimed in quickly. Yeah, really hard cutting weight. People don't understand how hard it is. Yeah, you watch fighters cutting weight, man. It's ridiculous. And Don Charles said this the other day, or Adam Booth, one of them, I can't remember, but they were like, if you're not struggling to make weight, you're fighting at the wrong weight. And that's a good point, because you're giving up physical advantages against guys that are doing the same thing. And I know sometimes it's a good thing to not cut weight, or so people say. But you could be completely undersized against somebody else who's rehydrating 10, 12, 14 pounds.
I've seen super featherweights walking around at 11 stone at a camp. And I don't mean bloated up. I'm talking featherweights walking around at 147 right through to 160 and making it. No dramas, making it day before weigh-ins. I've seen fighters make 9-9 on same-day weigh-ins, and they've done 20 pounds. My brother used to do 25 pounds in his last week. No drama. I've seen him do, 9-10 pounds on 24 hours. But it's not good. I'm not saying that's good. It's not, because your brain loses hydration. Your body loses hydration. Your brain loses fluid. You get injuries because your brain's not floating around in fluid. It's the inside of your skull, and that's where you get brain damage. So, yeah, you have to do it in stages, water loading and losing a bit through sweat, water loading, losing a bit through sweat. And, but Janibek, it's just got to be his last fight at 160, surely, to goodness.
There's a difference. There's a difference between struggling to make the weight because it's hard to make the weight cut and physically killing yourself. That's the line that I feel Janibek is crossing. Fighters that it's right. It shouldn't be easy to cut weight. No one wants to force their body down to a weight that isn't necessarily natural to them. But Janibek is, he's ended up in hospital, quite literally taking himself.
It's hard to lose. Listen, it's hard to lose weight. I've been trying to lose about 3 stone for 25 years, man, and I'm stuck with it. That's because I eat chocolate.
Right, moving on to the news then, boys. First one, I've been hearing rumours Josh Taylor may be signing with Matchroom Boxing. Good move or not?
They need him.
He's out of contract with Top Rank.
I think Eddie's always been an admirer, hasn't he? And I think Eddie tried to get him before.
Well, he's worked with him on the Catrol fight last time.
Yeah, the problem for me is Josh Taylor's, oh God, with the utmost respect, I forgot my new T-shirt. Merch is out next week. But, I left it at work. But yeah, it's not the Josh Taylor he would. Yeah, it's going to be easy to sign Josh Taylor now. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I agree with Luca as well. I need some UK signing. But for me, get him up to 147 and have a crack. His last few fights at 140 have been very lackluster. So just go up to 147.
Who's he going to fight at 147, realistically?
Anybody? Brian Norman?
Ennis?
Yeah, well, you get mauled by Ennis, wouldn't he? Let's be honest. But, Brian Norman, Mario Barrios.
Price himself out, Brian Norman. His dad will want 5.
Yeah, that's true. But not even necessarily world champion. Stanley Onis.
I know what you mean. 147's an exciting division. There's plenty of fights to be made for him at 147. Yeah. I think it's a good move for Eddie. It's just not the Josh Taylor that we, came to love 3 years ago. But, he might have another run at it
too. About feeding him to boots.
It's a big name. Gets him into, because not many UK fans know him. Yes, Sorkan, how are you doing? I'd be surprised if he signs with Eddie and doesn't get boots. Maybe not in his first fight. Yeah, that's the plan.
Cannon fodder, that isn't it? But he can build big shows still in Scotland. It's a market that Matchroom haven't been massively using, I guess.
Yeah.
What about Josh Taylor boots at the SSE, and you have Bacoli and somebody else on the card as well?
Yeah, it's too big for that SSE. That card is the problem. It's only about 7,000 or 8,000, I think.
Oh, is that all it holds? I thought it did 15. No,
it's not the biggest.
Is it like the Leeds one?
Yeah.
Right. You know what? Yeah, Dave, he could because Catrol's fighting Prograis, isn't he? In 3 or 4 weeks' time. Yeah, 26th, and he could because
Paro. That's a good shout, that. Yeah,
it is. Because Paro is meant to be fighting Haney, and I'll come on to it a little bit later. There's rumours.
They're on about Haney fighting Teo now.
Yeah, that's what I've got it for us to talk about. Yeah, Bill Haney called him out for his.
He calls everyone out. The jackass. Job shut, Dad.
But yeah, he could fight Paro. Actually, I think it's a bad fight for Josh Taylor that as well.
Yeah, but mate, there ain't no good fights for Josh Taylor anymore at that level. They're all hard fights. I'm not dismissing his chances. I just don't think he's as good as what he was. But who am I to say that I don't box? And we don't know what he's gone through in terms of, what he's been working on behind the scenes. And he might come back 2.0 and be the Josh Taylor that we saw beat them all. You might be able to line them all up. Josh Taylor might be the one that goes in there and does Ennis is a lot longer than him in terms of reach-wise. And if he finds his rhythm, I mean, Ennis is so good. And I'm don't even believe it as I'm saying it, but what I'm trying to build the fight up. Eddie, I'm doing your shit for you here. But, you know, he gives anybody a tough fight at 147. He's just had some bad performances. I don't believe I think I'm judging him off the TO performance, and I think it was just a bad night for him. I think it just went wrong.
I think the thing to remember with Josh Taylor, is when Eddie first wanted to sign him, it was off the back of the World Boxing Super Series where Matchroom were doing the co-pros, weren't they, for the semis and finals?
Yeah.
And he was red hot, absolutely red hot. And I think by Eddie's own admission, COVID sort of slowed down what he wanted to do in terms of trying to get Josh Taylor on board. He took the fight out in America, which gave him the top-ranked deal, which led to the whole situation with Catterall and that only being resolved this year. But his commercial viability, especially in Scotland, is still there. 100%.
Oh, yeah, massive.
Commercially, and this comment is right. If Haney has fallen off now for Liam Parrow, Josh Taylor is not a bad fight at all. And whilst it would be absolute hard lines on Jack Catterall, he just can't seem to catch a break in terms of getting a world title. Eddie Hearn's a businessman first and foremost, and Josh Taylor commercially at the Hydro in Scotland against the world champion makes massive commercial sense, and it's the type of big fight that us as UK fans haven't seen from Matchroom at all in 2024. I know we realistically won't get it until 2025, but my point still stands. It's the type of big UK fight we need. Let's be honest, the last big Matchroom UK fight was the Catterall-Taylor rematch, wasn't it? And that was in May. Everything else they've done...
The last real big show, yeah.
Everything else they've done has been in partnership with Riyadh Season. Someone like Josh Taylor, who will sell out an arena in Scotland, will have a good stab with the right opponent of selling out an arena in England as well, if we're being really honest. He's what Matchroom needs to start bringing the UK fans back, because they have slipped a long way behind Frank Warren this year for me. And the only saving grace is Ben Shalom sold himself down the river for Saudi and stopped caring about boxing in the UK. Otherwise, he could easily be closer to third position than he actually is.
Yeah. Definitely. So we'll keep an eye on if Josh Taylor goes in Matchroom, but I'd imagine that'll be what happens. Gervonta Tank Davis pretty much done, I believe, now against Lamont Roach Jr. It's going to be in Texas, Houston, I think it is, in December. We've touched on it last week a little bit, but looks like it's pretty much done now. What are the thoughts on the fight?
It comes back to what I said. I think, was it one of you two put out, what do we think of Gervonta Davis's career the other day? Was that you, Sam?
I said underwhelming. It was me.
Yeah, he is. We spoke about earlier that fighters don't give a crap about their O's anymore. They would rather take fights. They would rather take fights, etc., and make money. Gervonta Davis is one of the few fighters of the Floyd Mayweather ilk that still wants to protect his O. The difference is Tank Davis' best win is Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is now mired in controversy because of the failed drugs test after the Devin Haney fight. So you take that win at an even lower value now. In all his world titles he's won, his very first world title, which was the IBF down at featherweight, I think it was, when he came over here to defend against Liam Walsh, is the only title he's won that wasn't a vacant title before he's won it. 3 of his world titles were WBA regular belts. So what a WBA regular belt isn't even their highest level of world champion. He's a 5-time world champion, but he isn't a Hall of Fame 5-time world champion because he's so carefully manufactured, so carefully maneuvered. He cares about money. He cares about protecting his O. And by doing that, he handpicks opponents. He's essentially doing what Canelo's done the last 18 months, but on a much lower level, because he's never got to Canelo's level in the first place. He's a fantastic fighter. But the Gervonta Davis era, we should be slap bang in the middle of it right now.
And he's tested. He hasn't had a test yet.
His hardest test is staying out of prison, not what he actually does in the ring. His hardest test is keeping himself out of the can. And that is the truth, if we're being honest. You're pointing at me and laughing, mate, but it's the truth of the matter. He
go to Paris when he was on probation to train the US amateurs.
To be fair, I think he's smacked that many women. He should be doing 2-minute rounds, to be fair. I said that. Yeah, that's that.
But look, it's another fight, and we know what Gervonta Davis does. He's Al Heyman's only real cash cow left now because Canelo's on a fight-by-fight deal.
Yeah.
I don't I don't see what his legacy plan is now, unless he is planning on dining out and picking up another couple of WBA regulars and becoming a 7-time world champion with an O. But he won't be a real 7-time world champion. Real boxing fans will know the truth.
Yeah, it's a bit like.
Sorry, boys, apologies.
A bit like
loves a vacant title, Tank.
A bit like Broner's a 4-time world champion, but most of those were against no names, no disrespect to any of the champions or vacant titles. He needs to fight a real fight. For me, I think the best name on his record is Leo Santa Cruz, other than Ryan Garcia.
But Garcia was skeleton.
Yeah, but Santa Cruz at the time was the boy. He'd had the 2 fights with Carl Frampton, and Carl Frampton was a dominant world champion in his own right. But yeah, for me, Tank needs to have a proper fight. He needs to fight, either another recognised world champion, or I can't even think of any names to put him up against, really.
Well, he could fight any of them. He could fight. It was rumored he was going to fight Valenzuela, which would have been a way better fight. And a lot of them fluctuate between 135 and 140. So you can fight. Obviously the Loma fight wasn't there to happen in the end. He could have fought Baranchik in a unification. Obviously the Shakur fight before Cordina. Devin Haney was another one. He's at 140. Because Tank's fought he's a world champion at 140 pounds. He fought Barrios. He beat Barrios at 140, I think, to win the WBA regular belt or whatever it was. Tank can fight at 140.
Yeah.
The issue is, I just heard you mention Venezuela while I was just outside the room. There's one reason he won't fight that fight. There's actually a danger he could lose it. And the difference is, if he loses to someone like Venezuela, it's not as big or sexy a name as Leo Santa Cruz or Ryan Garcia was at the time, and still is in Americans' eyes. If you lose to someone like Venezuela, then his whole facade's gone. His ego will not take losing to someone of that caliber, and that's no disrespect to Venezuela. He wouldn't take it.
We completely forgot he beat Rolly Romero, man. What about names on his record? He beat the Rolly Romero.
Shoulder Rolly Romero.
He was losing that fight, mate. He was getting his head boxed off, and he caught him with a lucky punch, man. Should rematch him.
To be fair, he was in Frank Martin was close until it wasn't. So, the good thing Tank's got going for him, he's got crazy knockout power and he just needs one.
But I believe Santa Cruz was similar as well.
Santa Cruz was one punch. That's all it was.
It was a filthy uppercut, that was.
Oh, mate. Yeah. Well, Santa Cruz hasn't boxed since, has he? He never boxed again.
I don't think so.
God rest his soul.
But I will say this. If Tank Davis can move up and take on big names and world champions, and he still has that power and ices them, and he picks up some more legitimate world titles.
That's his legacy.
That's the career we wanted for him. Remember when he came over and fought Liam Walsh? The talk was this guy's going to run through the divisions, he's going to pick up all the world titles, and he's going to become a generational talent. We're 8 or 9 years removed from that fight now,
and he's not done a right lot since.
And I was waiting. I feel like I'm being a bit harsh here, but the reality is he hasn't done anything.
Let's
really.
Be real, man. This is what we do here. We're not here to pull the punches. No pun intended. But yeah, he's won multiple world titles, multiple vacant world titles, or we're not bowled over by his results. Yeah, he's got concussive power, but Rolly didn't deserve that fight. The Santa Cruz win was great. But I'm never bowled over by a Tank fight because his opponent is never anybody I want to see in box, really. I can't remember the last time he boxed somebody that I was really excited about. Even the Ryan Garcia fight, I thought it would be over quicker than it was. I didn't think that fight was going to be close. Ryan Garcia's not what he tells us he is. He's good, he's fast. But put him in against someone elite and he gets his ass handed to him, unless it's Devin Haney. But we all know, there are other contributing factors to that fight, allegedly. I will put that out there. But yeah, Tank needs a real fight, man. Put him in a real fight. Put me in, coach.
He's a weight bully as well. This is the thing with Tank. When he fought Ryan Garcia, I agree with you. I always had Tank as a firm favourite in that fight. But he had to put it in such a situation. And the weight had to take place by 10 a.m. the morning of the fight.
He's learned from Mayweather, he's learned from the best.
he can distance himself from Floyd all he wants because Floyd claims to have nothing to do with him anymore, vice versa. But he's learned all the tricks of the trades.
Yeah,
he's literally to a T.
Even
his prime life, he's learned all the tricks of the trade, hasn't he?
When he boxed the Floyd, I mean, it's only a couple of years ago that Floyd won basically cornering him from the front row, so he can give it as much as he wants. It's only recently, the last couple of years, that he's not sort of been arm in arm with Floyd. That's
he's still got the B influence all over him and stuff like that. Anyone know about this that Luca asked about Caroline Dubois?
She won't talk to me. I've tried. I've tried.
When she was signed, I'm pretty sure it was an 8 or 9 fight deal. So if anyone knows how many fights she's had,
surely to God, they have got her wrapped up in some kind of. If they haven't, then Ben, you need to give your head a wobble, son, because she's going to be the best of a good bunch.
The Dubois are going to be rolling the sport.
I've said it before. Hashtag Dubois dynasty. I'm telling you now, Stan the man has got some flipping. He's got some magic potion there in Mansion Dubois.
Just a question for you. So obviously last week AJ Dubois fight week in London, Maurizio Sullivan gave Dubois her interim WBC title. Shane McGuigan was there. Maurizio was there. I didn't see Shalom in any of the photos. I didn't see Shalom talk about how or did I miss that?
Oh, right. Okay.
No, he wasn't in them. No.
So maybe that is already done. Maybe Caroline Dubois is a free agent and we just don't know her next move. And that will be we say boxers have made a lot of fundamental mistakes in the UK
This would be a boo-boo.
That would be their biggest own goal ever because Caroline Dubois is going to be a superstar. We're talking Katie Taylor, if not greater levels in terms of what she'll go on to achieve in her superstardom. And Boxer could actually piggyback themselves in the sky for the next 4 or 5 years off the back of her. If they've lost her, then it's a massive own goal if they've lost her.
Definitely. 100%. Did I tell you I picked the winner of Dubois AJ? I don't know if I mentioned it.
No,
I don't think so. You want to tell us apart from that?
I think she'll leave to Queensbury fractured a few times. Yeah, exactly. You could be right there, Luke. He signed Chantel Cameron, who's just been announced for that Birmingham card, Liam Davis Masood. So yeah, Frank obviously making more of a step into the female game. Now, talking of Birmingham, Sonny and Galal was the press conference was yesterday. Got a little bit lively towards Charlie and Galal's brother, Cal Yafai, obviously former world champion. Good bit of rivalry between the families going on for this one. I think it's going to be, they were very respectful, Sonny and Galal, to be fair to each other, but it should be an interesting fight and good implications. The winners, it's for the WBC interim championship, so the winners in line.
Just a quick one. Who was Sonny Edwards scuffling with on Friday night ringside? Do any of you know? I've heard him talking about it. Somebody there.
Prince Patel. Prince Patel.
Are you sure it's Prince Patel? Because he said the last time I saw him, I give him $9,000 wages.
Yeah, no, it was because I saw Patel in there and then Patel getting told to leave. He came up to the inner ringside bit from where I was on the balcony.
What a dick! That kid's a dickhead. Honest to God, Prince Patel.
He's been parading his Hungarian WBF.
Don't get me wrong. Listen, he's the champion in recess. He's a lineal. He's a unified sports centre. Slovakian and Hungarian sports.
One in a billion, mate. 1 in a billion.
He's a dickhead, though. Yeah, and I did say that, Prince Patel. No respect or disrespect. It's all disrespect. You're a fucking dickhead, mate. You're a dickhead. Anyway, so thanks for answering that question for me. Back to the press conference.
He came in, called Sonny Edwards out. Sonny ignored him for a good 10 minutes because he was in conversations with the Sauerland brothers at ringside. Went over, it was a 2-minute conversation and Patel's been let out. That's literally how it went.
Apparently, he put his head in, Sonny pushed him, he got smacked by one of Sonny's mates inside and then got beaten up outside, apparently. That's
he got properly dragged out. There was 4 security dragging him out. I won't escape from that, but they got close. I wouldn't say there was any punches thrown between the two of them. If he did
No. Sonny just said he put his head in.
His head went in. But it was nothing more than,
So has Sonny promoted him then? Why Sonny give him $9,000? I don't get that. She's a dickhead as well. Yeah, you're a dickhead.
Everyone can get the Living York or Luke said.
I was on non-boxing nights as well. Just that end of London, surely.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway,
it's hotting up to be a decent card, isn't it? There's some decent fights coming on the undercard. I think Charlie Edwards.
Vong against Gwynn would be a good one.
Yeah, Vong against Gwynn. That is.
I don't know why you were giving it to Cal. Cal's retired, so I don't know what.
They were meant to fight. They were meant to fight.
No, I know they were, but Cal's retired.
Charlie's calling out Paul Butler and slagging off Joe Gallagher. That's a conversation for another time.
45 people watched you on Channel 5 on Friday. Chill out, Charlie. You're not the man you were.
So now he's trying to get some of the limelight back onto himself. So throw in a duck.
Paul Butler's not going to step down and fight him for an EBU belt. I'd be very surprised if Paul Butler can fight.
But if we get back to
bait him into it. Sorry, go on.
No, if we get back to the card, look, Sonny Ngallau it's a world champion that's been there, done it. Is one of Britain's best boxers in terms of what his talents are against an up-and-coming Olympian who potentially has the talent to surpass what Sonny's done. The big question is this fight coming maybe a year, 18 months too early for your fight? And is Sonny's world level? That's the question, though. Is Sonny's world level going to come through?
The way you've got to look at it is, right, he's an Olympic gold medalist. He's boxed in the WSB. So he's served his apprenticeship already for me. I think
I agree with you. I agree with you, but a lot of people were saying a lot of the stuff I was reading at the press conference was worded like that.
I don't think he wins the fight, though. He wins the fight.
I agree with that statement, Liam. I think it is too soon for Galal as a pro. Yeah, I think Sonny will school him. I do. So
do I, but I think he'd school him now, tomorrow, next week, 12 months' time. I just think Sonny's better than him.
It's a fantastic fight.
It is a good fight.
It's a fight we want to. It's a fight the British fans need. It's a fight that Matchroom UK needs, as we've already said.
Matchroom needed badly.
But I do think it could end up being a 12-round schooling from Sonny Edwards, similar to what we've seen him do to numerous opponents. I think Sonny is more than capable of doing that. And just unfortunately, then that's not the type of fight you want because people are going to switch off. They're going to go, all right, I've seen 6 rounds of this. We know what's going to happen. You kind of want a more competitive, even fight, but Sonny Edwards for me is just a cut above. Galal Yafai will become a world champion, I believe, but Sonny Edwards is still just a cut above him at this time.
Yeah, Sonny Edwards, let's not take too much, or people are taking a bit too much from the loss. Bam would do that to 99.9% of people in and around his weight division. I think Sonny Edwards, he's got loads left. And, I just think that he's just that bit better than Yafai. I think maybe if I know I said he always does it to him, but say Sonny were 35, 36, then we might have a different fight. But I don't see Sonny slowing down yet.
No, nor do I. Sonny isn't slowing down. What you just said about Bam Rodriguez is completely right. That performance Sonny put in that night against Bam would have beaten a lot of other fighters.
It was a good performance. It was. He done well. He actually stood and traded with Bam.
You got a pound-for-pound top 5 fighter in Bam Rodriguez in the other corner, and that's the level that fight was at. Sonny Edwards will become a world champion again, not just an interim holder. He'll become a full world champion again.
I'll let you know it. Listen, forget interim. Sonny wins that belt. He's a world champion again in his eyes.
Of course he is. Absolutely. Him and Charlie, talking of Charlie's already talking up about getting the green and gold belt back in the family from when he held it as Superfly. But it's an interim title, lads. It's not the.
Isn't the champion the guy that Edwards beat for the belt? Muriel, is it? Who did he beat for the belt? Charlie.
Oh, look now.
Is it Muriel or somebody like that? I'm pretty sure he holds
the
belt.
Sonny just fought Adrian Coriel in.
I'm pretty sure there's a chance that Sonny could fight the guy that Edwards beat for the belt.
Charlie beat Christoph Rosales for the belt.
Right.
Christopher Rosales, I remember that. Top 5 undoubtedly. Yeah, agree with that, Luca. He is.
That's the reality of that. People were quick to slag off Sonny. Oh, look, a cocky Brit. As soon as he comes up against someone, this is what always happens. No, Sonny performed out of his skin that night. But as we've said, Bam, pound for pound, top 5 is Bam.
Most of them.
Yeah, he does that to most of them. Sonny Edwards just found out that that's the difference between being a great world champion and being elite. That's where we're talking about in this fight. No shame in it at all.
Coriel, the non-singer, and that was in the Matchroom Monaco card, wasn't it? Yeah, and then
Cordina one.
Yeah, Cordina. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and then he lost the rematch in Mexico.
Yeah, I may have spilled a bit of red wine on a sofa when Correal landed that punch. I'll be honest, that's sort of what
it was. It was a banger. We spoke about this one off camera. Moving on next, rumored for December. Obviously, we know Inoue is going to be fighting. It's more than likely Sam Goodman, but Canelo Alvarez is rumored to be fighting. I was going to say on the undercard then, but we don't really know. A, do you see the fight happening, boys? B, who's going to be the main event? Who's going to be the chief support? And see who would Canelo Alvarez fight.
Do you want to go first, Joe?
No, you do, please.
The excited kid inside me believes this is going to happen. The more diplomatic, knows how boxing works, knows how Canelo works within boxing side of me, says it doesn't happen. I'd love it to happen. Just imagine we're sitting there on Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, wake up in the morning and we've got Canelo and Inoue to sit and do a watch along for. That'd be absolutely incredible. We would have get the misses, but it doesn't matter. We're doing
we'll get over it.
But I just don't know how it works. Canelo is very regimented in fighting on Cinco de Mayo, Mexican independence, unless he's unifying weight divisions or taking on big fights. I don't see this fight. Or Rocky Fielding, exactly. Biggest of them all, his toughest fight. But as we know, I don't see this fight being anything world beating, if that makes sense. If Canelo fights in December in Japan, it will be another level of opponent like Edgar Berlanga, like Jaime Munguia in May. And is that really what we want to see from Canelo? The answer to that is no. We want to see him challenged. So if it happens, Inoue will be the main event because it's Japan. Inoue isn't going to be anything other than the main event in Japan. I think Canelo
won't fight undercard, surely to God.
Or they'll do it Wilder and AJ at Riyadh season and do its joint main events.
Yeah.
Because that's what it'll be. I
don't think his ego could take him not being a main event. I really do not believe that Canelo's ego could take him being a main event.
That's like a new way going over to Mexico and being like, yeah, I want to be main event. Just in any other country in the world, Canelo's main event, but he's not in Japan.
No.
Who does he fight though? Let's have a think for a minute. If Canelo is going to fight,
he'll fight a Japanese fighter.
Oh, stop it! There's no Japanese light heavyweight. It's all 168s that could fight Canelo. Surely to goodness.
Right, this is no word of a lie. The first Japanese fighter I can find on BoxRec is the number 50 ranked Tyson Koke.
Oh, brilliant. Let's do
17, 5-3. He's always won.
Atletico Madrid, doesn't he?
Yeah. Decent player, to be fair.
I'm not taking the mick for a second.
Sorry, mate, I'm just checking some of you guys won't have any interest in Champions League, that's all tonight. Sorry.
We're not even sure who Canelo's going to fight on Cinco de Mayo, if we're being really honest. So who the hell is he going to fight if he goes to Japan? Inoue sells out an arena regardless. It doesn't matter who's on the undercard. The people turn out for Inoue. That's fine, but I just can't see who he'd fight. There's no, if this was in a lighter weight and there was a Japanese superstar for him to fight, then it makes sense. But up at super middleweight, I've just gone down to number 50 on BoxRec to find the first Japanese fighter in the rankings.
It's crazy.
So look, if the money's right, and this is probably, he will do it because it will allow him to stick two fingers up to Turkey and say, look, I can leave America and go to Japan and still make all the money I want to make without you. It would almost be him doing that to show to Turkey that there is another market out there other than his that's lucrative enough for him. Maybe that's what he wants to do. We know he's been petulant in terms of how he's interacted with Turkey this year, and fair enough, he's big enough to not need to go out to Saudi. But some of the way he's acted is not been the most tasteful stuff we've ever seen from Canelo, and this would just be the ultimate up you, so to speak. Two finger salute. I'm going to go over to Japan because look, I can make more money in Japan than I can with you out in Saudi.
Yeah.
And that would be the level of petulantness it would be for me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. He goes out to Japan. I think it's a bad move in terms of legacy. I think it's a great move in terms of his bank balance. But he's going to end up fighting no one. No one. He's going to end up fighting on no one because, there's no one for him to fight outside of the big fights that we all want to see. He either rematches Bivol or fights Benavidez. They're the only 2 fights I want to see him take. There's nobody else that I want to see him fight.
Benavidez fighting Jesse Hart in December.
Genuine question, and this is Shiskin and Skull fight in 2 weeks' time for that IBF belt.
That's a good
What are
point.
the chances that they get paid,
Get
a ton of money to go over to Japan so Canelo can become unified?
Possibly.
I know
he's undisputed.
Because it's so random, but that's the only other way my mind's going. One of them wins it with a KO early on, can get back into a training camp, and then they feed them to Canelo in Japan. That's the only thing that can make sense.
Mm-hmm. I agree, Luke. Hang on.
You're
Someone,
right,
Jay, just said that. I think straight on the money.
Yeah. No, it's not. I'm disinterested in Canelo, but I'm disinterested in Canelo having shit fights against not nobodies, because I'm being disrespectful there, but against people that haven't really earned a shot, don't deserve the shot, and people don't get excited for it. They can bullshit you as much as they want about pay-per-view numbers and it's sold out the arena. Canelo could fight me and he'd sell out the arena on Cinco de Mayo. Wouldn't have an easy night of it though, mate. You'd have to catch me first, kid. But no, in all seriousness, Canelo sells anyway, but I do believe that his own fan base is getting a little bit bored of this shit now. Fight the people that you're supposed to fight. Either rematch the guy who beat you last, or fight the kid that's been calling you out for 5 years.
Luca, if we're really honest, mate, since he got schooled, and that's not being unjust, he was schooled by Bivol that night. Since then, he's gone safety first. He's not taking on anyone that you would look at and say, oh, he's going to actually ask questions of Canelo. We know that Canelo is now just picking fighters to maintain his legacy. And that's also because he's got the governing bodies in his back pocket.
No risk in his fights. No risk.
They're not going to strip him, though. The only governing body with a backbone is the IBF. The others aren't going to strip him. They're all The only one that doesn't have a Mexican president is the IBF. So they've stripped him. 3 Mexican presidents. He could fight. He could fight Jay. Like, he could fight Jay.
I don't think he's got the balls to fight me, if I'm honest. I don't think he wants this smoke. I just don't, Canelo. And yeah, I've said it, mate. I don't believe you want this.
Doesn't want to be
Spanish, please, for Canelo. Much appreciated.
40 quid. Give me 40 quid and we'll get it on mush.
Luca,
we're going to be in the corner, mate, surely.
Yeah, 10 each. I get 20 for fighting, mate. I'm taking all the risk.
Yeah. I can't say.
10%. 20. Come on.
10% all round.
Is there a question, Sam? Because we've lost it here. Was there a question?
No, we're going to move on from that one. Canelo and Inoue. Haney Lopez. Hang on, Wayne's asked Luca what his pick is for October 12th, so we'll see that. Obviously, big show plan next week for all things Better Be Ever versus Bivol. Yeah, but to be honest with you, Haney Lopez, it's just Bill Haney talk. So do you know what? Let's scrap it. One thing I'm gonna ask you about, boys. UK non-pay-per-view cards. Where do you stand on the quality?
Dicey. No, I mean, what over what period? I mean, there's been some all right non-pay-per-view cards recently.
Are we going this year? Sam? Are we going this year or since?
I'm going the last 3 months.
Average.
Frank's the only one that's delivered them. Frank's the only one who's got on decent cards.
Consistent, decent domestic shows, to be honest. I think Frank's leading the way. Eddie Earn and Boxer have either got fantastic cards or the shit. There's no middle ground. Frank's pretty consistent. He'll put on the odd blockbuster card and then he has steady runs. Frank's been doing this a long time. Eddie sort of goes in bursts. And Boxer have sort of followed that model. They'll have a good show, 5 shit shows, a good show, maybe not 5, but do you know what I mean? This year's been okay for me, but it's not one of the best years we've ever seen. Been some great moments, but the non-pay-per-view cards have been moderately average for me.
I think the fact that this Saturday's cards in Liverpool is arguably one of Frank's weakest this year says how high he's raised his own bar this year. Because I made the joke earlier that this is like going back to the Box Nation days where everything's on the main event and you've got a stacked undercards but it's full of nothing fights. But that's the first time you can say that about Frank this year. Even the shows he's been doing at York Hall, you know who's going to win 80% of the fights, but they've produced some fantastic moments. They've been good nights of boxing. Eddie this year, Catterall Taylor 2 is the only fight I can non-pay-per-view fight in the UK this year. You can say that it was value for money and has delivered, if we're being honest about it. Boxer's best UK card was probably Buatsi Aziz, and that was their first card of the year back on the 2nd or 3rd of February. Since then, they've put on what on paper looked like good cards, like Selhurst Park, a stadium fight. Should have been a good card. You got one knockout on the first fight of the night that wasn't on TV, and everything else went to points.
What about the Sheffield card? That one, bud. No, Robert Barnsley.
Barnsley. Yeah, that was going to be my next one. The Barnsley card was a good card, but my difference there is it wasn't a competitive card, if that makes sense.
No, it was a red corner, blue corner, when at home and away.
The most competitive card they've done this year was Buatsi Aziz, and that was their very first card. Since then, it's gone down. Frank has only gone up this year, and the fact it's October and we're seeing his first substandard show is fantastic. And Boxer then sold his soul for the Saudi money, like I said earlier. They haven't sold out a single section of the copper box for October the 15th.
Ben sold his soul, but gets made to sit at the back of the room.
Yeah,
in a corner
with his dummy and not allowed to talk. But he's doing what's rest. But like I sent to you yesterday, didn't I? I sent you the ticket map for Azim and Davis, and they've not opened up the full copper box. They've opened up the whole lower tier and half of the top tier. Not a single section is sold out yet, and we're 2 weeks away from that fight. That tells you everything you need to know about boxing in general in the UK right now, and also the quality of that card. All the fighters they got to get out. And this is the quality of card they produce. That tells you everything you need to know about where boxers' mindset's at with UK cards at the moment as well.
Yeah,
Turkey's got him on the payroll. It's as simple as that. Turkey's got him wrapped around his little finger.
And I think with other than Frank, I tell you what it looks like to me. I think Frank's the only person that seems to have kept his business model rolling while he's involved with Saudi.
Yeah, definitely.
The other two have lumped the eggs in that Saudi basket.
Yeah, Eddie's got the US and Mexico market too.
They're making loads of money for themselves. They're making loads of money for certain fighters. But domestically, they aren't doing anything. And I don't think they seem that bothered about it. They will when Turkey gets bored, because the Boxer might have gone by then. But, it's tough.
You know what I think it is? Frank was obviously the very first Saudi cards, which was Fury and Ghani, was obviously Queensbury and TNT. It's before DAZN and Matchroom were involved. Frank probably looked at that card, saw Fury almost get beat by an MMA star and went, shit, I actually should probably keep my eggs in the home basket and keep pushing all of that. Yeah. He probably did. Yeah. He probably thought off the back of that first show, this ain't going to last too long. If we're being really honest, Francis Ngannou nearly beating Tyson Fury would have been catastrophic for the game of boxing if he'd done that. Turkey's interest probably wouldn't have stayed as high, and then we wouldn't have had some of the fights we've had this year. So Frank has probably stayed the most consistent. GMB is doing well. I mean, okay, the criticism of that GMB card is there was too many fights on it on Friday night. But look at the names they had. Look at what they've built over 2 years.
If they're able to get them people on with their budget, then we should be seeing better from
What's a decent MC, is it? You need a decent MC, bro. I'm only around the corner.
Wasserman are more interested in doing OnlyFans models against each other over on Misfits. And when they do produce a card, it's either at York Hall, which is a fantastic venue, or in the conference suite at Bolton Stadium. They've fallen off a cliff base from the World Boxing Super Series days to what they're doing in 2024.
I don't know what you mean. He's going to sue you, Bank, allegedly.
Yeah, but the drop-off, no one's talking about this enough. The drop-off from the Sauerland brothers from when they started the World Boxing Super Series to where they are now is crazy.
Oh, yeah, Misfits is paying their bills.
Interview where they ask him about Eubank calling him a scumbag, and he starts reeling off.
He's like, ask Alexander Usyk, ask Marius Bradis, ask Inoue,
I thought he was going to start pulling his dad's fighters out from bloody Marco Huck.
But it tells you everything you need. It tells you everything you need to know about the market. That the Sauerlands are more happy, like we say, with the Misfits cards, playing around with KSI.
Making money out there.
They're more happy to make the bank, and then the fighters they do have. Look, the deal on Channel 5. The only good thing that Wasserman have is it's Channel 5. It's live and free. It's not another subscription we're having to shell out for. So that's what they have in their advantage. Yeah. But any of their big fights being so. Look, they had fighters on the Wembley cards, didn't they? They had Josh Kelly and who was the other? Wasserman fighter on.
No, they just had Josh Kelly, I think.
Oh, yeah, sorry, it was it was just Josh Kelly, but they always have fighters on the Saudi cards as opposed to making the bigger fights. So that tells you where they're at. It's
definitely.
It's a long way of saying that. Besides Frank Warren, it's been lukewarm in the UK of non-pay-per-view shows this year.
Oh, it has.
That's been very, very, very nice, Liam.
Yeah, that is
I want to see
being kind. Anything else to cover off, boys, before we probably end a bit shorter than normal, but there isn't too much. It's
been a sparse couple of weeks, hasn't it? Really, we've had a massive.
Yeah, we'll be back in action from next week. We've got
we're building up to next week, so we're gonna have a busy week next week. You know,
we've got Better BF Bivol, then you've got Adam Azim against O'Hara, then you've got Catrol Prograis, then you've got. What's November the 2nd? Boots and Bam, and then you've got the Riyadh season.
Might have
the week after that,
end of the year, possibly.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what. One thing we need to talk about, obviously, all eyes from Beterbiev Bivol next weekend is fantastic, but we've also got the 2 Japanese cards, the 4 world title fights.
In a way.
You've got that.
Sorry, that's next weekend, isn't it?
Sorry, just before you get into that. Sorry, speaking of Bivol. What the flip has Dennis McCann done to Bivol's missus? What the fuck?
Oh, I love that. Is that not edited? No.
It's well.
Have you know he's a married young man? But yeah, she doesn't like Dennis the Menace, does she? For some reason.
No, he's a bit of a menace. Dennis.
She doesn't like her ex-husband either. She doesn't like her ex-husband, does she?
She's she's definitely
doesn't like him.
Someone came out on the wrong side of the divorce filings. Clearly, she's taking things into her own hands.
But what's a looser? Yeah.
A looser. Yeah, I saw that one.
Translation.
He said, "I'm undefeated." Actually, thumbs
up. Yeah, he's definitely not a looser.
No, he's gone for sure.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there then, boys. I don't think we've got too much more to cover off. We'll be back, obviously, Saturday night for the watch-along to Nick Ball against Ronny Rios. Any MMA fans will be out there for UFC 307. Obviously, also probably cover the main card for that one, despite slagging it off all night on Monday. But there we are.
I'm actually warming up to it now. There's a couple of...
we'll do it. We'll do it, of course. We'll do anything.
We will do a live over 2 tramps fighting over a bag of chips.
Absolutely, we will. So, yeah, that'll be our 2 watch-alongs on Saturday night. We'll maybe cover something. We'll maybe do something before then. But thanks to Luca, Wayne, Hawkan, Minky M's joined us. Dave joined us for a bit. DJ Pat joined us. Who else joined us? There's a couple. Mithrandir joined us. Yes, and thanks to Jay, thanks to Liam, obviously as always at Jay's Fight Talk at Liam_Tully9. Wayne, thanks for joining us, man, as always. We're back this time next week for No Punches Pulled with a huge show for Riyadh season. We'll probably have quite a few videos out next week in the sense of previewing. We'll be all over. We'll be all over next week. Don't forget to catch this on Spotify as well. We're launching content now over on Spotify for audio. For those of you that don't like to, obviously for the beautiful housewives that listen to us and watch us, Jay's Fight Talk is a YouTube. But they like to see Jay's Fight Talk rather than listen. But for those of you that prefer to listen, we are available on Spotify now. Thanks as always, guys, and we'll catch you next week.